The story centers around Jack, a young and kind-hearted construction engineer, who secretly designs and builds a house for his lover, Tu Tien. Tu Tien is depicted as a hard-working woman living a simple life on a farm, dealing with life's hardships but maintaining a positive spirit. Jack takes on the responsibility of rebuilding and renovating a farm where Tu Tien lives, intending to provide her and her family with better living conditions. Jack and Tu Tien's lives intersect when they meet and realize shared struggles and aspirations. Tu Tien's father-in-law, once a kind and supportive man to Tu Tien, has fallen on hard times, homeless and living in dangerous conditions. Witnessing his plight, Jack and Tu Tien decide to help him by bringing him to the farm temporarily while trying to find a more permanent and safe solution. This act of kindness reflects the theme of caring and support amidst hardship. Throughout the story, there are many scenes of daily life on the farm, Tu Tien harvesting fruits and vegetables, selling them in the market, and managing the hard physical work that sustains her livelihood. Despite her tough circumstances, she remains determined to contribute to the farm's renovation financially, adding a personal touch of effort and pride to the project. Jack, alongside Tu Tien's family, discusses and tackles various issues in the farm's infrastructure, including problems with the house foundation and walls, which were poorly built by an inexperienced construction team. Jack, wanting to ensure safety and quality, brings in more skilled workers and plans to fix the issues meticulously. The story portrays a deep sense of community and family ties as neighbors and locals assist each other. For instance, Jack communicates with village chiefs and landowners to secure additional land to move the house to a safer location due to frequent flooding in the current spot. There are interactions about land sales, borrowing money from policy banks for renovating the farm, and careful management of financial resources to ensure the farm's future development. Despite financial constraints, Jack and Tu Tien work with optimism and mutual support to build a better life. Detailed scenes show the kindness in everyday exchanges, from buying fruit sold at the market to caring for elderly family members. Everything adds to the narrative's warmth and realism. The story touches on the contrast between hardships such as drug addiction and neglect seen in Tu Tien's father-in-law's family, versus the supportive and cooperative environment Jack and Tu Tien foster on the farm. Jack's dedication extends beyond construction. He assists with daily chores and cares for the people around him, including buying food for Tu Tien's father-in-law and ensuring he is comfortable at the farm. The narrative also hints at plans for growth, including growing mushrooms and trees together on the farm, enhancing the livelihood and sustainability of the family. In summary, this story is about resilience, love, and community care. Jack's secret undertaking to build a house for Tu Tien marks the beginning of a hopeful transformation in their lives, turning the farm into a secure and prosperous home despite the numerous challenges faced by the characters. Now, to begin with part 1 of the story in detailed narrative form in English and about 3,000 words, without connectors between paragraphs, and told in continuous storytelling style. Part 1. In a quiet rural village, where life unfolds gently with the rhythm of nature, lived Tu Tien, a woman known for her resilience and hard-working spirit. Her days began before dawn, stepping out onto the modest farm that sustained her and those dependent on her care. The land was humble yet fertile, yielding an abundance of fruit and vegetables that Tu Tien nurtured with her own hands. She moved between rows of crops with practiced ease, harvesting melons, squash, and the fruits of her careful labor. Market days brought crowds, but Tu Tien approached them not just as transactions but as moments of connection with neighbors and strangers alike. Her smile was a soft defiance against life's hardships, a silent vow to endure and prevail despite the challenges. Nearby, Jack, a young man whose face bore the traces of both determination and kindness, quietly mapped out a plan. Construction was his trade, yet his heart belonged to something greater than just building structures. He was building hope, a foundation on which dreams might rest safely. Unknown to many, Jack had taken it upon himself to design and construct a new house for Tu Tien. He had listened closely to her unspoken wishes and struggles, understanding that a home was more than wood and stone, it was a sanctuary from the storms of life. His work was meticulous, each brick and beam placed with a promise carried silently between them. The project was kept a secret, not from necessity but from the simple desire to give without expectation or fuss. Tu Tien's farm was more than just a piece of land, it was a battleground where the forces of nature and fortune clashed daily. Rainfall often meant delays and difficulties, soil became heavy and unworkable, and the river would swell threatening to swallow entire fields. Yet, through these trials, Tu Tien carried on, her spirit unwavering. She was not alone in this fight, family and friends lent hands and hearts where they could. Among these, Jack was a steadfast presence, his efforts extending beyond craftsmanship to tending the soil and sharing the burdens of survival with her. Together they envisioned a future where the farm would flourish, a green oasis amid the trials that came with rural life. One day, a troubling encounter added weight to their shared narrative. Tu Tien and Jack met a man known to her as her father-in-law, once a figure of stability and care for her in earlier days. Time and hardship had worn him down, he was now homeless, found lurking in the dark, dangerous corners of the village, struggling to gather firewood just to survive. The sight of him weighed heavy on Tu Tien's heart. She remembered how he had once treated her like a daughter, offering support without question. Their meeting was brief, but the impact was profound. Determined to act, Tu Tien and Jack brought him back to the farm, to a humble shelter where he could rest and regain some dignity. This act was not without difficulty. Questions arose about the past, about how a man once cared for could fall so low. Yet compassion prevailed, driving decisions made with gentleness and resolve. Life on the farm became a blend of old memories and new responsibilities. The man's presence was a reminder of the fragile bonds that tie people together through kindness and shared history. Jack and Tu Tien navigated this complexity with care, mindful of fears and the uncertainties of those around them. The farm itself was undergoing change as Jack's construction crew worked to repair and reinforce structures. They uncovered faults and flaws, walls that bulged, foundations that sank precariously. The work was painstaking and slow, hampered at times by inexperienced workers whose mistakes threatened the safety of the home. Jack was relentless in his efforts to correct these issues. He summoned friends and experts, seeking advice and hands capable of restoring the farm to a place of strength. In doing so, he displayed not only skill but a fierce loyalty to the promise he made to Tu Tien. Throughout this process, Tu Tien contributed in every way she could. Her earnings from the market were small but precious. She handed over coins with pride and humility, insisting that this was her part in building the dream. Her determination to pull herself from hardship was mirrored in her willingness to add personal effort, to shoulder burdens alongside Jack. The farm was more than a home, it was a symbol of hope and renewal, a collective project that bound them and the community together. Conversations with neighbors and landowners about securing additional land for safety and expansion underscored the shared ambitions woven into this story. The threat of floods necessitated moving parts of the farm to higher ground, a complex endeavor requiring cooperation and trust among many. Jack's kindness extended in small, everyday actions as well. He ensured that the needs of Tu Tien's father-in-law were met with dignity, bringing food and supplies, making sure the older man was not forgotten or overlooked. These acts, though quiet, spoke volumes about Jack's character and intentions. In markets crowded with voices and vendors, Tu Tien learned alongside others how to weigh scales and speak with customers, slowly gaining confidence as a vendor and caretaker of a legacy she and Jack were building together. The story here was not just about survival but about learning, growing, and forging a life enriched by connection rather than diminished by hardship. Amid the challenges, there was laughter and moments of joy. The anticipation of the finished house, the tastes of fresh fruit, the exchange of greetings in the marketplace, each was a stitch in the fabric of daily life. Jack and Tu Tien's vision included more than shelter, it was a promise of stability, a chance to nurture not only crops but relationships. Their shared resolve carried them forward, a reminder that even in places marked by struggle, the seeds of hope could take root and flourish in unexpected ways. This intimate tale of labor, love, and resilience captures the essence of human spirit faced with adversity. It unfolds in the fields and homes of simple folk, yet it resonates with universal themes of caring, sacrifice, and renewal. Small acts of kindness ripple outward, connecting strangers and family, building a community grounded in shared efforts towards a better tomorrow. The secret house designed and built by Jack was more than a physical structure, it was a testament to hope's enduring power and the deep bonds forged through compassion and determination. The process of rebuilding a home in the countryside, far beyond a simple act of construction, reveals itself as a complex dance between nature, human will, and social bonds. For Jack and Tu Tien, the humble farm soon became a stage where resilience and hope played out through many trials and efforts. Jack's decision to design and build the new house was rooted not only in technical skill but a deep yearning to provide security and comfort to Tu Tien, who had long carried the weight of hardship on her shoulders. The very soil beneath their feet dictated much of the challenge they faced. The farm rested on borrowed land, its foundation subject to the whims of floods, rains, and seasons. Jack quickly realized that neglect or oversight in building would jeopardize the entire project. Walls, intended to shelter and protect, were found warped and bulging, betrayals of poor workmanship and the relentlessness of the earth. Foundations showed early signs of subsidence, a slow sinking that threatened the house's very life. Each discovery brought worry but also clarity, a call to action that Jack answered with unwavering determination. Construction sites in rural Vietnam often come with unpredictability. Jack's team, composed of younger and less experienced workers, brought both promise and risk. Their enthusiasm did not always translate into careful technique. Rows of bricks were uneven, mortar smeared thickly and carelessly between them, refusing waterproofing tasks the protection they required. Jack, balancing the role of mentor and leader, made difficult decisions. As the project grew more demanding, he chose to bring in more skilled workers, specialists who understood the terrain and the demands of building strong homes that could withstand the season's harsh moods. The farm's transformation was not merely physical but symbolic. For Tu Tien, every wall repaired and every beam secured was a testament to hope reclaiming its place in her life. She continued to contribute in whatever ways she could, harvesting fruits, selling melons at the bustling markets, her small earnings fueling the renovation. Working hands and steady hearts stitched together their vision of home. The act of lending her money, her labor, added meaning to the construction. It was no longer just Jack's project but theirs, a shared dream solidified by sweat and trust. Yet the story held deeper layers beneath the visible labor. Tu Tien's experiences reflected the precariousness that many rural families face, a balance on the edge of poverty, tied intricately to land, family heritage, and the decisions of surrounding neighbors. The sale and transfer of land rights became urgent topics as flooding repeatedly threatened the old farmstead. The village itself hummed with conversations about safety and future security. Jack, with his steady hands and thoughtful mind, stepped into these conversations, negotiating with landowners, village chiefs, and others. The shared goal was clear: to secure a piece of higher ground where Tu Tien's house and farm could move, safe from the rising waters that so often marched into their lives uninvited. As Jack navigated these arrangements, the social fabric of the community became more vivid. Each neighbor carried a history, a set of hopes and losses, intertwined with the farm and those who lived upon it. The village was a network of silent understandings and outspoken support. Some landowners were aging, their children moved far away, leaving behind parcels of land that were more a memory than a livelihood. Negotiations were not just business but acts of trust, a hope that this exchange would nurture a future where new growth could occur. Amid this, the presence of Tu Tien's father-in-law served as a constant, poignant reminder of fragility. His decline from a supportive, stable man to one struggling on the margins cast shadows on the family's story. Jack and Tu Tien's decision to bring him to the farm was not only practical but deeply humane. They arranged for him to live in the shelter they made, ensuring he wasn't forgotten or left to fend in the shadows. These moments underscored the emotional weight carried in the simplest acts of kindness, weaving together past memories and present compassion. Life around the farm was punctuated by the sounds and rhythms of rural Vietnamese life. Crowds at the markets, the shouts of children playing, the rustle of leaves in fruit gardens, and the occasional thunder of distant storms comprised the soundtrack of days. Tu Tien's market experiences reflected not just commerce but connection. She learned the art of negotiation, the subtle exchanges that accompany small-scale selling. Each melon weighed, each word spoken with neighbors, revealed her growing confidence and adaptation to her role not just as a farmer but as a vendor. Jack's work extended well beyond the walls and beams. His responsibility was holistic, encompassing the environment, the people, and the future. Jack's attention to technical details, such as ensuring proper drainage around the house to prevent water damage, or rechecking designs to align with local conditions, now came with a deeper understanding of the farm as a living ecosystem. Every decision, from material choice to labor management, was infused with the knowledge that this was a place meant to last, to nurture life through years and uncertainties. Financial realities often shadowed the project. The borrowing of capital, lent under policies designed to support vulnerable households, was a double-edged sword. Tu Tien's loan from a policy bank carried with it obligations and risks. Jack's intention to contribute money without forcing more debt onto Tu Tien's shoulders showed a desire to shield her from further burdens, even as they planned for the farm's expansion and sustainability. The community's support, from shared labor to moral encouragement, was vital in balancing the tension between economic necessity and hope for growth. Through these intricacies, their story illuminated the broader experience of rural Vietnamese life, where survival is a blend of hard labor, community reliance, emotional endurance, and strategic foresight. The new farm was a promise of stability and progress, not just a physical structure but a bastion of identity and aspiration. The challenges they faced, construction faults, environmental threats, social dynamics, financial constraints, were not just obstacles but opportunities to forge strength and resilience. Jack and Tu Tien's narrative also carried layers of personal transformation. Jack's protective and supportive role revealed an expanding sense of responsibility beyond his own life, while Tu Tien's evolving confidence and agency painted a picture of empowerment born out of necessity and hope. Their partnership, growing in trust and mutual respect, was emblematic of a new chapter where love and labor intertwined to redefine possibilities. Their vision for the farm extended into sustainable development. Plans to cultivate mushrooms and plant trees, diversifying the farm's produce, mirrored contemporary movements in agriculture towards ecological balance and economic stability. This foresight signaled a break from old models of subsistence farming towards a future-oriented enterprise, rooted yet innovative. Underlying all this was a deep respect for tradition and the ties that bound them to their land and community. The farm was a heritage to be cared for and passed on, enriched by modern practices yet grounded in timeless values of cooperation, kindness, and hard work. Jack's secret house for Tu Tien became a symbol not only of personal love but of collective aspiration, a beacon for what could be achieved through dedication and shared vision. In the midst of romantic and practical challenges, the story preserved moments of tenderness, the careful feeding of Tu Tien's father-in-law, the joyful sales of melons, the quiet conversations about land and safety. These glimpses of everyday life enriched the narrative with humanity and grace, reminding that the grandest dreams are often built one careful, loving step at a time. As the farm slowly transformed under their hands, an evolving mosaic of hope emerged. Jack's and Tu Tien's story was more than just a rebuilding of a home, it was the regeneration of spirit and community in a world that can be harsh and unforgiving. Their journey illuminated the ways in which dedication and compassion could rewrite the narratives of hardship, laying foundations not only of bricks but of belonging, stability, and enduring love. The journey of building a home in the Vietnamese countryside is not just a physical act but a profound engagement with the land, the community, and the complexities of rural society. Jack and Tu Tien's shared endeavor unfolded in a landscape marked by both inherent beauty and persistent challenge. The farm they sought to nurture and the house Jack envisioned for Tu Tien were more than structures. They were anchors in a world shaped by shifting realities and long-standing traditions. The challenges that lay before them mirrored the broader context of new rural development in Vietnam, where many communities grapple with the demands of modernization while holding to cultural roots. The unfinished walls and sagging foundations were immediate symbols of issues that reached beyond a single construction site. Beneath the surface of uneven bricks and bulky mortar lay the systemic hurdles faced by many rural builders: delays in financing, limitations in access to skilled labor, and fluctuating environmental conditions. Vietnam's program of new rural construction, widely known as Nong Phon Ngoc, aims to uplift rural communities through improved infrastructure, agricultural modernization, and socio-economic development. However, as Jack came to understand, actualizing this vision required navigating a complex web of administrative requirements, financial constraints, and community dynamics. The borrowed land on which they built was a microcosm of these wider challenges. Securing land rights, negotiating with local authorities, and balancing family and communal interests required patience, diplomacy, and persistence. Jack's meticulous approach to the farm construction underscored the importance of foundations, both literal and figurative. When he discovered the walls were bulging and the foundation showing signs of subsidence, immediate action was necessary to avoid future disaster. The soil, unstable and prone to flooding, made the building's safety depend entirely on expert intervention. Jack's engagement with more experienced workers was a turning point, an acknowledgement that vision alone was insufficient without technical expertise. Beyond the physical structure, Jack and Tu Tien faced the emotional stakes of building a home that could sustain a family and a legacy. Tu Tien's involvement in the market, selling fruits and vegetables, was not simply a matter of earning income but an act of reclaiming agency. Her labor was a form of currency, an investment in the future that she carved from seasons of sun, rain, and toil. Every melon weighed on her scale, every transaction was a lesson in resilience and adaptation. The farm and the market together were spaces where tradition met change, where a woman's strength and community spirit intertwined. The presence of Tu Tien's father-in-law brought another layer of depth to their story. Once a protector and provider, his fall into homelessness and despair reflected the vulnerabilities faced by aging populations in rural areas. Jack and Tu Tien's efforts to provide him refuge illustrated a profound sense of familial responsibility. This compassion extended beyond biological ties and was emblematic of the communal values that persist despite growing economic pressures. Their narrative also captured the harsh realities of rural infrastructure. The village's repeated flooding echoed a dangerous cycle that many rural Vietnamese communities face. Floodwaters often swept away crops, eroded roads, and jeopardized homes. Moving the farm to higher ground was not merely strategic but essential for survival. Jack's negotiations with landowners reflected both the growing pressures on land resources and the spirit of cooperation that anchored these communities. Aging landowners willing to sell or transfer land showed a willingness to adapt and embrace change, even amid uncertainty. Financial constraints were a constant companion in their journey. Tu Tien's loan from a government policy bank illustrated the delicate balance between opportunity and obligation. These loans, often interest-free initially, carried expectations of repayment that weighed heavily. Jack's desire to supplement her resources without increasing debt embodied a protective instinct, indicative of a partnership where financial prudence was as vital as emotional support. At the heart of their progress was the transformation of daily life. The farm's fruit gardens and vegetable plots blossomed under their care, mirroring the growth of their shared commitment. Market days were filled with the bustle of buyers and sellers, each transaction steeped in stories of survival and hope. Tu Tien learned quickly the subtleties of trade, from weighing produce to negotiating prices. These skills were more than economic, they were survival arts, passed down and adapted to where tradition met the demands of new markets. Jack's work extended far beyond the physical building. His focus on drainage and waterproofing highlighted a holistic vision of resilience, building not merely for the present but for generations to come. His insistence on proper waterproofing, repairing walls, and ensuring sturdy foundations was a metaphor for the durability of the life they aspired to build, a life resistant to the shocks and floods that could otherwise wash away years of effort. The evolving story also underscored shifts in societal norms. Jack and Tu Tien's partnership was a subtle challenge to traditional gender roles, with each contributing skills and labor in new ways. Tu Tien's role as a market vendor, her financial contributions to the farm rebuilding, and Jack's sensitivity to her wishes represented a progressive model of rural life, one where mutual respect and shared responsibility nurtured both personal growth and community strength. Sustainability emerged as a central theme as they planned further diversification of the farm. Proposals for mushroom cultivation and planting various trees hinted at long-term thinking, environmental care, and economic diversification. This approach aligned with broader agricultural trends in Vietnam, where ecological balance and sustainable livelihoods are increasingly prioritized. The farm was not only a source of food but a living ecosystem, reliant on prudent management and cooperation with nature. Daily acts of kindness punctuated the story with warmth and humanity. Feeding the elderly, sharing food and resources, assisting neighbors in need, these moments were the threads weaving a tapestry of community support. They resonated with the Vietnamese cultural emphasis on familial piety and collective care, values that persisted even as rural life modernized and transformed. Through moments of laughter, negotiation, setbacks, and breakthroughs, Jack and Tu Tien's story illuminated the profound relationship between land, home, and identity. Their farm was a stage where personal dreams and communal aspirations performed a delicate dance, each step forward a testament to the power of dedication and hope. The journey of rebuilding and securing a home in this rural context revealed the intersection of technical skill and emotional investment. Jack's engineering knowledge was indispensable, but it was his empathy and commitment that transformed the project into a labor of love. Tu Tien's perseverance and adaptability complemented this, forming the heart of the farm's rebirth. Their story also reflected the continuing evolution of Vietnamese rural communities navigating the tide of industrialization and urbanization. New challenges, such as managing scarce resources, adapting to climate change, and retaining cultural identity, were met with resourcefulness and solidarity. Jack and Tu Tien's farm was both a refuge and a beacon, symbolizing resilience in the face of ongoing change. As the house took form, becoming safer and more livable, so too did the fabric of community life around it grow richer. Neighbors offered help, shared labor, and exchanged ideas. The village was not merely a backdrop but a living participant in their story, influencing and shaped by the rhythms of daily toil and aspirations for a secure, prosperous future. In this unfolding narrative, the interplay of human relationships, land stewardship, and technical challenges illustrated a timeless truth: home is both a place and a process. It is built brick by brick, gesture by gesture, hope by hope. Jack and Tu Tien's efforts, grounded in love and bolstered by community, affirmed the enduring power of human resilience and the transformative magic of shared dreams. The story of Tu Tien and Jack unfolds amid a wider transformation sweeping through rural Vietnam, an ambitious national program to renew the countryside and uplift rural life called Nong Thon Moi. This program, launched by the Vietnamese government, aims to improve infrastructure, economic productivity, education, health, and overall quality of life in thousands of rural communes. As Jack and Tu Tien labor over their farm and home, their story becomes a vivid, personal reflection of these sweeping changes, embodying the hopes, challenges, and everyday realities of millions of rural Vietnamese. At its heart, the Nong Thon Moi program is more than bricks and roads. It is a vision for rural communities to leap toward modernity without losing their cultural roots. For individuals like Tu Tien and Jack, it offers new opportunities but also expectations to balance tradition with innovation. Their farm stands at this crossroads, an emblem of continuity and change, shaped by government policy but ultimately lived in the dirt, sweat, and dreams of those who call it home. The National Target Program sets clear goals, increasing the percentage of communes meeting comprehensive criteria for development, improving rural road and irrigation infrastructure, expanding access to education and healthcare, and raising incomes through diversified agriculture and industry. It embraces sustainable development to ensure the progress enriches without depleting the environment. As Jack oversees the rebuilding of the house and the renovation of the farm, technical discussions about foundation stability, water drainage, and building materials echo these broader principles in miniature: how to create homes that last, that resist natural forces, that nurture human life. Tu Tien's role in this program reveals the evolving place of women in Vietnamese rural life. Traditionally assigned to domestic and agricultural labor, women increasingly take on leadership roles as entrepreneurs and community organizers. Tu Tien selling melons at the market with growing confidence reflects this shift. Her efforts to earn and contribute financially to the farm's rebuilding symbolize empowerment. She becomes not just a farmer or a daughter-in-law but a new kind of rural woman, active, assertive, and shaping her own destiny. Her story illustrates the program's goal to elevate the status and role of women in rural development. Yet the path is not smooth. Jack and Tu Tien encounter obstacles familiar to many rural households. The terrain itself imposes hard limits. Flooding and unstable soil threaten long-term stability. Poor construction initially done by inexperienced workers reflects a national shortage of high-quality rural skilled labor. The financial framework, involving loans with deferred interest but eventual repayment obligations, suits the program's intention to encourage investment but also places pressure on families to manage tight budgets and uncertain incomes. Jack's protective instincts toward Tu Tien, wishing to prevent her from debt overload, reveal the delicate balance families must manage between opportunity and risk. The communal spirit remains a cornerstone amid these pressures. Villagers negotiate land sales and transfers with cautious hope, harmonizing individual needs with collective welfare. Village chiefs and local officials blend traditional roles with new administrative responsibilities in overseeing construction standards and mediating land issues. Jack's dialogue with neighbors about moving the farm to higher ground illustrates how one family's challenges are intertwined with the village's future safety and prosperity. Their lives remind us that rural development is as much social negotiation and cooperation as it is physical building. The presence of Tu Tien's father-in-law, once homeless and destitute, serves as a poignant reminder of vulnerabilities that can be obscured in policy documents or statistics. His rescue and care underscores the human side of development, how policies translate into daily acts of dignity and care. Jack and Tu Tien's farm becomes a sanctuary, a place where aging and hardship find compassion, reflecting the Nong Thon Hoa emphasis on social security and inclusiveness. Their farm and house are evolving symbols, places where knowledge, skill, culture, and hope converge. Jack's insistence on waterproofing, digging drainage ditches, and using appropriate materials point to a forward-looking approach to construction, informed by local conditions and nationwide standards. The Nong Thon Hoa program's encouragement of sustainable, resilient building finds tangible expression here, planting hope that homes can outlast floods, storms, and time. Economic diversification is another pillar of their story. Beyond melons and vegetables, plans to cultivate mushrooms and plant trees connect to national strategies promoting agroforestry and value-added agricultural products. These initiatives aim to increase incomes and stabilize rural economies, helping families like Tu Tien's withstand market fluctuations and environmental uncertainties. This blend of tradition and innovation marks the transition from survival farming to entrepreneurship and sustainable development. Daily life is rich and textured, filled with small acts of learning, generosity, celebration, and perseverance. Tu Tien's market interactions capture snapshots of village connections, the rhythms of rural Vietnamese commerce, and the resilience required to thrive. Jack's attentive care for details and people shows a philosophy where technical knowledge meets humanity, emphasizing that good construction is inseparable from respect for those it shelters. The partnership between Jack and Tu Tien, rooted in